Okay, this is the last day of this little mini course, and today we are talking about food. Food is obviously important when it comes to your digestion and your digestive health. Hopefully you've been using the tracker, so you've started to notice something. You've got some information about your bowel movements, you've got the quality and quantity of them, you've got any symptoms that are being presented, your mood, your energy, how is your sleep, what are you consuming in the day. All of this information is to start gathering and becoming aware, having awareness. When your digestion works well, when you've got that nice posture and relaxed and your digestive fire's working right, it doesn't really matter what you're eating. Yes, I just said that. If the building blocks are all in place, you can be pretty flexible with the food that you consume. Now, I'm also going to say ultra processed foods that come in packets that are from takeaway shops, convenience foods, are not good for our health. But if your digestion is working well, that means that your health is working well, which means that your body can tolerate and process these processed foods more easily than if your system is already sluggish and in pain and struggling. Mind blowing, right? Now, obviously, if we want to have optimal health, if you are already going, I'm doing all these other things, and actually my diet is the part, what I consume is what the part that I want to tidy up, that I want to get better. What can I eat that's going to make me feel the next level better? That's where the information that you've been tracking is going to start to come in, because you'll start to be able to identify the foods that are irritating you and the foods that are not irritating you. And for females, different times of the month, different foods will irritate you in different ways. So there might be, if you, let's use pasta as an example, because pasta is one of these things that people maybe notice more when they can and can't have it. Or it's maybe the food that people go, oh, every time I eat that, I end up really bloated. It might be that at certain times of the month within your monthly cycle that you can tolerate pasta better than at other times of the month. So if you love pasta and you're just like, don't take the pasta away from me, please don't take the pasta away from me, play around with different times of the month to see when it works well, when it doesn't work well. Also thinking, what else have you consumed in that day? So if breakfast has been toast, lunch has been a sandwich, and dinner has been pasta, you might have overloaded your system with too much starchy, glutinous foods. But if breakfast has been milk kefir with some fruit and nuts and seeds, and lunch has been a bowl of soup without bread, or some fish and salads, and then pastas for dinner, your body might be able to tolerate that pasta no problem. Also, the time of the day. You might be able to tolerate pasta at lunchtime, but not at dinner time, or vice versa. It's playing around, it's noticing what else are you consuming in that day, what else are you having with it. So if you're having my favourite meal of all time is macaroni cheese with chips and garlic bread. It's very white, it's very dense in carbohydrates, it's very dense in starch and gluten. And there are times where I can eat that and it's not a problem. And then there are other times I'll eat that and my eye will get weepy and I'll get mucousy, my skin will get a bit itchy, and I might feel a bit bloated. So it's understanding your own body. Everybody's body is different. We respond to different things at different times. Also, how stressed have you been when you've eaten that meal? If you've come in from work and you've got the rage, and then you're eating this pasta, oh, now I feel rubbish. Is it because that you came in the rage and you haven't let that go, and that you were actually in a stressed state, and your body's not being able to digest the food, that's why your gut feels sluggish and it feels heavy and bloated. It's being aware of all these factors before we even start blaming the food, because it might not be the food's fault. There are lots of guidelines out there about you should eat this much protein a day, you should eat this many grams of fibre a day, you should have blah blah blah. The current one is aiming for 30 different varieties of fibre source, rather than trying to work out, are you getting 35 grams of fibre every day? Can you get 30 different sources over a week? That number sounds quite, oh my God, that's overwhelming, but actually it's not as complicated as you might think, because different varieties of the same food count as each one has its own point. So if you like peppers, for example, like bell peppers, if you have a green, a red, a yellow, and an orange, that's 4. You've got 4 different sources there already. If you love potatoes, you've got white potatoes, you've got Maris peppers, you've got the waxy Charlotte potatoes, you've got, I can't think what other names of the other varieties are, but there's loads of different varieties. They all count as individual varieties. So you could have potatoes every day. If you have 7 different varieties, you've had 7 different sources. Perfect. Your herbs and spices count. And I've heard this 2 different ways, I think, depending on the volume. So if you use loads of herbs, handful of coriander and a handful of basil, of fresh herbs, that counts, each of them counts as an individual. If you're putting a little sprinkle of dried herb on, then that counts as a quarter. If you have, for example, like a garam masala mix, you've got about 10 different spices in there. Those 10 different spices, each 4 of them would count as one. So you've got at least two different in that one spice mix. Nuts, seeds, all the different nuts and seeds. So you've got flaxseed, sunflower seed, pumpkin seed, chia seed, cashews, walnuts, dates. Don't know where they come in the nut variety. Almonds, pecans, pistachios, all of these individual nuts, they're all different sources. You want a nice broad spectrum of sources because they all feed the microbiome in your bowel differently. They feed different strains. So that's why variety is better than the 30 grams, because if you have 30 grams of fibre and your 30 grams of fibre is every single day coming from the same sources, then you're not going to have a diverse gut microbe. Which is why in my diary, it's not my diary at all, in my recipe book, the Gut Friendly Easy Recipes recipe book, I try and put lots of different ingredients. So there's multiple different ingredients in, for example, a vegetable curry or a vegetable stew, or when I'm making chicken, I'm going to add in some onion and some carrot and some potato and some peas to bulk it up to give variety, then have all the herbs and spices going in there as well to give it more sustenance, more variety, more diversity. I've tried to do that with all the recipes, that there's each one is diverse. So I like to make my own granola, recipes in the recipe book, and add that to some milk kefir with some fruit. In my breakfast by itself, on day 1 of the week, I'm hitting about 20 of that 30 variety range, which means that for the rest of the week, I don't need to be so, oh my goodness. If you're making a vegetable curry and you've got 5, 6, 7 different types of vegetables, plus the herbs, plus the spices, you could be hitting 7, 8, 9, 10 variety, diversity points in that one meal. You don't need to worry about it. So once you start to think, and what I did to start with is I would start to take note of each of the different vegetables, each of the different herbs that I had used that week, and then I was going, oh, brilliant. And it makes you think when you go to the shop that you're not just eating the same 5 fruit and veg all the time. as much diversity as you possibly can, and that's going to help feed the gut microbiome, which helps then make your body more resilient, so that when and if you do decide to, or you have to, or you're stuck at the airport, need something to eat, there's only a McDonald's or a Burger King or a KFC or some sort of junk food that you don't want, or maybe you love these foods and you're like, oh, but I really don't want to have to give that up. Makes your body more resilient to being able to eat that. So go and eat it and enjoy it and don't feel guilty about it. And because you've done all the steps, you've set your posture, you've relaxed, your body's going to be able to deal with it in a much better way, and it will cause you less gut health issues. I would love to have more conversation around this. So please do have a chat about it. What have you noticed about your own eating patterns, and when foods bother you, when foods maybe don't bother you? Have you worked that out yet? And it might be you've maybe just not got enough data. If you've only started tracking that over this week, then you've maybe only got 6 or 7 days. If you signed up in advance for the course, you've maybe got as much as 2 weeks tracking, or maybe you just come straight in. So whatever is going on, notice in your own body. But let's have a chat about this. Let's see where we're at with this. Really interested to hear more, and yeah, I will drop in with one more video just telling you a little bit more about the Healing Rebel program, what is available to you, what you can expect, how you can sign up and join us if that is what you wish to do. And if not, then that's not a problem, because you've got this valuable information. All right, I will see you soon.